Any tips for walking meditation? Yes, I love walking meditation, and you know, I was going to teach it this afternoon, but the rain, right? And I thought, what kind of yogis are they? Will they go out and walk in the rain? In the hall, yeah, I don't know, there's quite a lot of people. Depends. Sometimes people walk in a circle, but I'm like a tall boy, and I'm always stuck behind the short person with little legs. So I never get to do any walking. I just kind of get to stop, stand still, do standing meditation, then move one foot. So, walking meditation. I love walking meditation. Do you practice walking meditation? Anyone here? Yeah? You like it too? So, the Buddha encouraged us to practice in all 4 postures. So those are sitting, standing, walking, and lying down. So these are postures that we can meditate in. And walking meditation is like a tool in our toolkit. So we can use it for a particular purpose. And when the Buddha talked about walking meditation, he said that walking meditation is good for many reasons. It provides exercise for the body. So that's good, isn't it? Especially if you've been sitting a long time, you want to exercise the body, because sitting, we start to get tight. Our old bones start to creak. So walking just kind of stretches it out and makes us feel a bit more energized, brings some blood flow back into the body. So it provides exercise for the body. And it allows for you to have endurance. So remember that the Buddha walked everywhere until he was 80 years old, walking everywhere barefoot. And so he had this exercise and this endurance that came from walking meditation. Walking meditation is also good because it helps us digest our food. And so that's why you often find in monasteries and retreat centres they'll encourage walking meditation after the meal. Because you know how it is when you sit after you've eaten, like game over, right? So if you want to keep on developing your mindfulness after a heavy meal, then walking meditation is really good, because you won't fall asleep, hopefully, when you're walking. It's still possible. But most importantly, the Buddha said that the kind of samadhi developed by walking meditation lasts a long time. And that's something that we can see when we practice walking meditation. And this is why often we'll practice walking meditation before we sit, because we're developing samadhi whilst moving the body. Then, when it comes time to sit, we feel like we're already in the zone. We've developed a lot of meditation power and energy. And we've developed it on an object that is quite large, the movement of our feet connecting with the earth. So this is really easy to see, right? Left, right, left, right. We're aware of this large bodily movement. And so the mind can focus on this. Sometimes focusing on the breath is really hard because it's so subtle, so difficult to see, especially when we begin our practice. But walking, we can't help but be aware of what's going on. So it's easy to develop mindfulness. And the steady walking back and walking forth, back and forth, back and forth, helps calm the mind so that we can see the object really clearly. So walking meditation is also really good if you have anxiety, some stress, some problems in your life. It's good to do some walking meditation. Sometimes it's better to do walking meditation than seated meditation, especially if you've got anxiety or obsessive thoughts. Probably not a good idea to do seated meditation, because there you are sitting with your anxious mind and your obsessive thoughts, right? It's hard to work with those. It's much better to get the calm and mindfulness from walking meditation instead. Yeah, sometimes you can walk fast, sometimes you can walk slow, but don't walk too slow. So I don't recommend slow walking. Some people love slow walking, but I find that it actually creates a huge amount of tension and tightness in the body because it's unnatural, it's exaggerated, and it actually requires a lot of effort, control and will to move the body so slowly. It puts a lot of pressure on the joints and it can become quite painful. So I recommend walking naturally. I think the Buddha probably would have recommended walking naturally too. He never said walk slowly. Buddha was always very much kind of the middle path. There is a story though about Venerable Sona, who liked walking meditation. Maybe he liked it a little bit too much because he walked back and forth with such a frenzy that he actually made his feet bleed. And so the Buddha talked to him and said, well, you used to be a musician, right? You used to play the lute or the veena in ancient India. We'll just call it a lute or a zither. And you used to play that instrument. And so when you were a musician, you knew, right, if you had a really loose string, then the note wouldn't sound. But if it was too tight, then it would snap. So you have to find the right balance for that string so that it produces a beautiful sound. And so the same with our meditation practice, we have to find the balance. We don't want to be too overzealous, tight and frenzied. We just become agitated. We don't want to be too loose, relaxed and overly comfortable. We'll just fall asleep. So we've got to find that middle place. And this is something to remind ourselves all the time. We need to find that balance, and only you will know where that is, and it will change, so you have to keep on experimenting. So it's the same with walking meditation. I start walking out at a natural pace, and then I notice that over time I slow down a little bit. Yes?
So can we meditate running?
I think you can. A lot of people talk about the process of running, long distance running especially, and they talk about how meditative it is. And so I could see that being a kind of meditative state, a zone that you get into where you're really just like, and it's the same for even maybe for things like cycling. But I suppose it depends on how we approach it, what's the intention. And so just a few more tips and I'll show you how I do my walking meditation. The pace should be natural. You should have a walking path of 15 or 20 paces. You don't want to have more than that or less than that. 15 or 20 paces is enough to exercise the body, and not long enough that you keep walking and kind of start looking around and get lost, and not too short that if you have it too short, then you're walking back and forth so quickly, there's too much change. So you want to have like a natural walking pace that kind of allows you to go just the right distance, and then it's a natural pause and turning around. So you want to be walking back and forth. This is how the Buddha taught it, walking back and forth, pacing back and forth. And it's that regularity that helps bring calm and mindfulness. So walking in a circle, some people do that in like a group. So that becomes a bit more difficult. You're no longer doing the instruction of the Buddha and you have to follow someone else. You might be able to walk in circles if you want. You might find that works for you. In some cases, if I have a small room and it's raining or something outside, I'll walk the perimeter. Or I'll walk a funny angle just so that I can do my practice. And you want to keep your body relaxed. The Buddha was said to walk like an elephant's trunk, right? So really elegant, you know. You don't want to be like militantly walking your meditation. The position of the hands in front of the body. Ajahn Chah didn't like the hands behind the back. He said, "What are you, some gentleman going for a walk?" So, but I actually often do put my hands behind my back, and I'm always like, "Sorry, Ajahn Chah," because I find it helps to open up my chest and keep my back nice and straight. And often if you've been sitting, you start to hunch a bit. So if you open up like this, it can feel good. And then the last thing is the chin just kind of slightly tucked, and the eyes not looking at your feet. Your feet know where they're going. You know, you don't need to watch them. You need to look ahead, like maybe 1 or 1.5, 2 meters ahead. And this is good in case there's obstacles or ants. And it's also good because then you don't crunch the neck looking down like this, right? Like this becomes quite uncomfortable after a while. So you want to keep your body open, upright, and I think that's about it. Turning. Now, maybe I'm not a very good turner. I don't know. Some people are like getting to the end and then they have a beautiful ceremony that they do. But I'm much more relaxed. I'm just kind of like, yeah, whatever. So, but it can be good to pause at each end. Some people do that deliberately. They pause and they recompose their mind. Because, you know, in between there and there is like a whole ocean of thought. If you're not careful, you will find yourself completely distracted. So you still need to keep your presence in walking meditation. And so going from one side to the other, you try to maintain that awareness. You try to maintain the mindfulness. And if you haven't, when you get to that end, there's your chance to start again. So for me, I like to just continue the walking and not stop too much. But from time to time, I'll stop and I'll just do a body scan. And so the simplest method is just to be aware of the movement of the feet, left, right. And you can kind of just say left, right. There's other methods, like some people will use Bu, Do for each footstep. Some people will use the 4 elements and they'll look at the elemental aspect of the movement. I think this is a little complicated myself, maybe a bit overly complicated. But if your mind is very refined, you've been doing a lot of intensive practice, then you can see more clearly. Sometimes the walking meditation becomes almost like an experience of not self when you do that practice, because it becomes a bit like a puppet being moved on strings, and you're just aware of, the intention to move, the actual movement itself. And we describe these in terms of the elements, but it's a bit complicated to go into now. So I take a few moments to compose myself. And I just check in with the body, I try to relax. And then it's so simple, right? I just move right, left. And I'm just aware, right, left. And so you can stop and then turn. So you want to know how your feet are moving when you're turning. And then start again. So if you've lost that composure, that mindfulness, then you make another determination. Okay, this time, right, left. And you feel the connection of the foot with the earth. And as you continue practicing, your mind becomes sharper and sharper, so you actually start to experience the different parts of connecting with the earth. You feel the heel, the foot, you feel the push off of the sole of the foot, you feel the movement through the air. So that's how I do my walking meditation. And it's a good practice to do when you're doing intensive meditation retreat. You can divide your time between walking and sitting. And it's good to do when you've got a really busy life. It's really easy to integrate walking meditation into your life and to go for a walk in the park or walk in the corridor of your home. Another reason to avoid slow walking is that you look a little bit weird in public. Like, it makes sense in a retreat environment. But my friend, he decided to do some walking meditation outside of his apartment block. Someone called the mental health team because they thought that he was having a psychosis. So there you go. Anyway, maybe tomorrow morning we can do some walking meditation. Actually, it's also, I forgot to mention, you would have picked this up, Venerable, that I missed out the fact that walking meditation helps to ward off sleepiness. So it keeps your mind alert. Did I mention that? I mentioned that kind of, yeah. But anyway, that's walking meditation. Let's do some tomorrow.